So now as a producer that we've talked about a lot of the different types of stories and things that you can put into your show, I wanted to take a little bit of an opportunity to kind of sit down and watch a show with you guys, since I'm not sure how many of you actually stay up and watch the evening news. But as you do that, there's a couple of things to consider. We're going to be looking at, so as a producer, you're going to have access to your rundown, and your rundown is going to be the order of everything that's going into your show. So looking at the rundown for this show, I can see that at the very top they've got like a couple of VOs coming in. They've got notes to take a bug off the screen. They've got notes for weather. They've got transitions, things like live graphics setup. And then for the rundown that we use in our studio, we've got a little more simplified version. So we've kind of grouped everything into pretty much just a self-contained story. So when you're looking at shows, remember there's a bunch of different types of stories that you can use. You've got readers that are going to take 10 to 30 seconds. You've got page graphics that are going to give you additional information to help you out in addition to just hearing what the anchor says. A voiceover is where the anchor is going to be talking over video that's going to be playing at the same time. A SOT is where we stop to interview someone and get their perspective on it. And we can combine things like VOs and SOTs or page graphics and SOTs together to form a new type of story. We've also got the package, which is a self-contained story that a reporter's gone out, shot, got video of the event, got interviews, and then they put it back together. And then we've also got a live shot, so a reporter can be either on location or sometimes they're even in the studio and they're helping tell the story of what's going on in that newscast. So in a newscast, you're going to find quite a few things to go along. You're going to have at the very beginning, you're going to have an animation that's going to identify what show you're watching, what station you're watching it on. And then sometimes right after the open, they'll tend to play a couple of clips of some VOs where they're going to talk about coming up in this show. We're going to cover this topic, and this topic. Depending on what's going on in the world of news, sometimes they may just forego the teases and go right into the news if it's a very busy show that they have to keep up with. And then they're going to break their show up into segments. So there's going to be segments dedicated to news. And in news, they're going to cover what's happening local around the station. They're going to cover what's happening regionally and nationally in the country. And then they may also talk about things that are going on around the world. Then the next segment that we'll probably go into is going to be weather. A lot of people want to know what the weather is going to be like for the next few days. If it's Thursday or Friday, they want to know what the weekend weather is going to be like. If they're coming back from the weekend, then they're going to want to know what the weather is going to be like as they go to work for the next few days. And then sports will come in, and usually they rank it as news is the most important, weather is the second important, and then sports is the third important as far as information and content they want to present. And for news, if there's a local team near the station, they'll probably cover that. And then they may also go in and do national teams with news that's happening in around them. Now, between each block, they tend to go to a commercial break. And a block is going to be a group of stories. So they may have a group of local stories in the local block. They may have a group of national stories then in the national block. And also if there's a theme among stories. So if they have, if the theme is COVID, they may do local COVID and national COVID together instead of just doing like local, then coming back to national, then coming back to worldwide. So they may follow a theme with a group of stories, but they tend to do local, national, and worldwide. You start kind of right where you are, and then you sort of like branch out your news the further you go from the station. Same way with sports. And then between each segment or each block, they're going to have a commercial break. And before the break, they tend to give you a tease or a preview of what's coming up to make sure that you're interested and you're going to keep watching after the commercial break, which usually lasts about anywhere from about 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes. And so they'll have the teasers and the breaks together. Then at the end of the show, they may end it a variety of ways. They may have a fun little upbeat story known as a kicker. And a kicker is not really important to the newscast. It's just fun and lighthearted to end the show. Sometimes the producer may run out of time and they'll just get rid of the story and end the show a different way. Some stations will end the show with a last look at weather. And so they're like, before we go, here's what your forecast for like tomorrow or the next few days is going to be. And then they may have a moment where the anchors are all going to kind of just chit chat to take up time to see what what's going on, and kind of help round out the show. So you've got all these different things going on in Newscast, and it's the producer's job to make sure that it's all coherent, that it all makes sense, it's well written, and that the show fits the time length that you're given. It may be a 28-minute show, it may be a 35-minute show, depending on how programming and the national networks have set that up. So let's take a look at a newscast. And one of the ones that I've picked is going to be from a website called News On. So let me see if I can tab over to News On. There we go. And so this is a website that you can go in and you can find stations from all over the country. So you can just pick something at random. You can be like, you know what? I want to look at what's happening in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Do I want to look at the ABC station? Do I want to look at the NBC station? Let's just take a moment, look at the ABC. And you can see there's just all the different newscasts they're going to be using. For today, I'm going to go and look at a local station near Troy University. And that is WSFA Channel 12 News. They are an NBC station. And so I can see at a glance, I've got newscasts, and I can see most recent shows. They had news at 4, news at 5, news at 6, and the WSFA Montgomery. This one is probably going to be the news at 10 o'clock, and this is going to be the one that we're going to look at. So let's take a look at WSFA's 10 o'clock news, and we'll just kind of brush over a few of it without watching the newscast in its entirety.
Live, local, now, this is
So here we've got the animated open.
The firefighters that since 1:48 in the morning have not stopped.
We're starting this part off with a SOT. So this is the first story of a collapsed building.
Rescue effort now going underground tonight.
And now you can hear the anchors talking in the background.
Garage to get to more rubble. It's been almost 20 hours since the partial.
So we've got our two anchors are finally showing up, and then you can kind of see their name graphics have come in, identifying who they are, even their social media.
99 people are still unaccounted for.
It is believed a number of people were.
So we've now switched from the two-shot to an anchor-centered center screen.
Rescue crews are using sonar and other equipment any equipment they can in that search. Reporter Dan Shenneman with the latest on this breaking news.
And now we've got a graphic kind of show what segment this is. This is breaking news. And this is going to be a package, a self-contained story that is being sent to them from the national feed. And this is going to include various VOs, SOTs, and all this with reporters' voice track.
That's beneath the building. That's given us better access to gain basically tunnelways to these different floors.
It was around 1:30 in the morning when the structure began to fall.
This is going to be an entire building, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 12 to 13 stories. Most of the building is gone.
In a few moments, 12 stories, suddenly a cloud of dust and a pile of concrete and steel.
When the dust cleared, there was the back half of the building, or back two-thirds.
And so all the graphics you're seeing have been put in by the local station, not by the national feed. They provided a sheet that had the reporter's script, all the text used for the closed captioning, and then it's up to the station to use their own branding and logos and graphics to get that information in.
Concerns with the construction or the condition of the building, we do not have any information at this time to really say.
The rescue operation and the investigation far from over. Dan Shenneman.
So I can hear the reporter's name. So he's now finished the story. We're coming back to the anchor for a tag, which is a little bit of information to conclude the story.
However, the number of people still missing at last check remained at 99.
And now we'll switch over. And so now we've gone from national to local, and they're tying the two stories together because they're going to talk to a local fire department about how people are going to respond to this national tragedy. And so in this case, we've set up an interview through Skype or Zoom or Teams or some other video conferencing software just to be able to quickly get an interview with the subject that they want to talk to.
They may have found a victim that's trapped under that rubble pile. And then the real work begins. Then you're going to have rescuers that begin to delayer and tunnel through all of that concrete.
And as you heard, some tunneling has already begun as of this evening. Montgomery fire officials say our city has been working to create an urban search and rescue team. It takes more than $3 million of equipment and lots of training to do that. The city is, it says, about a third of the way through that training.
President Biden addressed.
So we've been talking about the national collapse of the building. We've talked about the local response, and now we're going to go get a response from the president. We switched over to a different anchor. She's got an over-the-shoulder graphic.
Is down there.
And now we have a SOT from the president.
And including from everything from if the rest of those buildings have to be evacuated as well, finding housing for those people, making sure they have the capacity.
And so again, this is going to be a feed interview that was sent down from the network. So this station did not have to send a local reporter to go cover it.
Florida tonight, whatever help they need in this recovery, the federal government.
And again, she's providing a tag, which is the end of the story, to provide some closure. Now we're switching over to a news story. There was a major accident in Alabama that killed quite a few people. We're now providing an update for this type of story. And right now, you can hear the anchor's voice talking over moving pictures. So this is going to be a VO type of story.
In the next 30 days. Butler County school officials say they are preparing now for the questions that may come about.
Now, as a follow-up story to the accident and the updated information, they're transitioning into another story, how they're talking about how people are preparing for grief counseling for students returning to school after losing 10 classmates. So they're combining the two stories together by having a same theme.
Still hits home.
Mainly because,
and this previous was a VO, so we had the video showing while the anchor was talking, and now we have a SOT or an interview with a grief counselor.
Go in different places back and forth. We don't have a lot of activities or places to go out to eat or do different things. So travel is, big here. So I do anticipate those conversations.
And Powell recommends the same approach for parents.
And so once again, now that the part of the story is concluded, they're using a tag to finish it out. So we have new information. This is another story that they're pulling in with an over-the-shoulder graphic.
18-year-old Carterius Brown was shot and killed. His case listed as a homicide.
And this is, again, an anchor with an over-the-shoulder shot. They've got a graphic to give you a basic idea of what's going on. We've got police lights showing, so this was involving the shooting.
Initial reports indicated only 3 victims. One person suffered life-threatening injuries.
And now we've got video of the aftermath to go along with this story. So this type of story would be a VO.
That happened late this morning on Hatton Avenue. A woman suffered life-threatening injuries there. No word on any arrests.
Suspended Lee County District.
So now we've changed anchors and we're transitioning to a different story that a local district attorney has been removed from office.
For more on this breaking news update, WSFA 12 News reporter Brady Talbert joins.
And so now we have a live shot. We have the anchor in one studio. We're going to a reporter that's in another part of the studio.
Before the judge, he's now convicted for using his position for personal gain.
And the reporter is now providing us with a VO. So as he's telling a story that's unfolding, we do have some video of the people that are part of the story, and he's showing that.
False statements to the Lee County grand jury last year. His attorney says the verdict is fair.
And now we're going to go from the VO to the defense attorney, and we're going to get an interview from them.
State of Alabama, and I appreciate the Attorney General's office listening to us and being fair with it.
Well, we're here and we're looking, and
then we get another attorney from the other side of the case to give you a different perspective.
Public officials are as clean and upstanding and ethical and full of integrity, and if you're not, we will, start an investigation. Hopefully this does send that message.
Now the state proposes Hughes serves 3
And then we're going back to the reporter doing a live shot.
10 months behind bars.
And then at the conclusion of this live shot, they'll go back to the split screen so he can now toss the story back to the news anchor.
And Hughes will be formally sentenced at a later date.
Lawmakers from Alabama met with the governor today for some.
So now we're going into our first commercial break. The two anchors are talking about stories that are going to be coming up. It says next. So we're going to talk about a law that the governor has signed in.
This one aims at keeping violent criminals off the streets.
And later details on a
we've got an additional story that's going to be talked about the president's new infrastructure, and weather is going to give you a preview of what's coming up.
Stick around for the weekend. I'll have details coming up in my full weather update.
And then at this point, the station's going to drop out to a 2-minute break. Now, the way this website is set up is that they don't show the actual commercials because they're not a commercial site. So what we're going to do is we are going to try to just jump ahead about 2 minutes, and we shall go from there. So let's play that out. And so, like, usually the station will just kind of have like a graphic or something up. In this case, they have a graphic promoting their own app. So you can download that, get more news directly from them, as well as updates.
A number of bills that were passed during this year's legislative session.
Lawmakers who sponsored those bills joined the governor for today's ceremony.
So now we're looking into stuff that's happening around the state, but it's also not emergency breaking news.
Also among the 16 bills, Aniah's Law. The amendment allows
And this type of story that both the anchors are talking about is going to be a VO, or this is a VO segment where the anchors are voicing over the video.
Back in 2019, 19-year-old Aniah Blanchard was kidnapped in Auburn and murdered. Her body was found in Macon County. The suspect arrested was out on bond in connection with violent crimes from earlier in the year. Aniah's family today saying they hope this helps protect others in the future.
And so now they're getting interviews from their family. So this was a stepfather of Aniah.
We know that Aniah's dead.
And we've got a second one. So this is her mother.
It's going to save a lot of lives. This bill is going to save a lot of lives. And so it's just very emotional, but it's very exciting as well, knowing that our daughter's name and her life is going to mean something.
It makes me feel good.
And then we've also got her father. So the entire family is able to give their perspective of how this law came about from a tragedy concerning their daughter.
Statewide ballot for voters to decide whether to approve it in a referendum election.
So now we're going to use a graphic to transition to another part of the state. And here we have a page graphic where we're talking about a person that's missing. So in addition to just Anchor talking about it, you now have a face, you now have some information to kind of help the viewing audience out should they see this person.
The book is coming out to help make the complex history of the civil rights movement a little easier.
Now we've transitioned to another story about a civil rights book that's been coming out. And this is going to be a VO kind of talking about civil rights, and as they talk more about the book.
It includes a timeline of events from 1954 through 1969. It features 14 cities in Alabama where people can visit to help bring the civil rights movement to life. Another new book is also.
And since we've talked about one book, we happen to have another story about another book. So this one is also going to be a VO that's going to cover an event that's happened in the past in a book that came out from this person's perspective.
From Selma to Wall Street. Scrushy's from Selma, the former CEO of Health South, and along with former Governor Don Siegelman, you may remember, were convicted back in 2006 in what prosecutors called a bribery scheme.
And so this is a VO type of story.
To Siegelman's education lottery campaign. Both ended up serving time in prison. They both maintained their innocence. A few storms in the south tonight, but
and now we've got a tease, which means we're now ending that previous block and we're going into another one. So up next we've got weather. We're showing some weather camera footage so you can see what's going on. And then they may have some additional segments. So one of the things that the station does is they partner with other businesses and they have contests. And in this particular case, we have a page graphic that is talking about the person that won their most recent contest.
Just log on to WSFA.com and register for your chance to win.
All right, so now we're in another 2-minute break. And let's see if we can jump ahead a little bit and get back on to the next segment, which should be weather.
USFA First Alert Weather with meteorologist.
So this is what's called a restart. They're specifying what's going on and they're showing the person they're talking to.
Get outside and see the moon. You should go check it out. My producer Matt Russell has been working with me. We've been trying to look at the live cams to get you a good shot of the moon. I swear we had the perfect shot And now cloud cover moved in because that's how it works.
So news doesn't always go the way you hope it is. They had the perfect shot and it didn't work out. So in this case, we're starting off with a weather camera to show you what the weather is like outside the building right now.
If you can see it, you can go check it out. And it's the strawberry moon. It is June's full moon, the first full moon of summer. So it is a special moon. I wish I could show you it. You can head to my Twitter or Facebook page if you want to see a picture that I quickly snapped before all of that cloud cover moved in. For the rest of us, yes, still cloudy, but...
And now we transition from that, so we're going to start looking at current conditions. So this was a radar showing rain that's been developing through the evening up until this point of the newscast.
So we will stay dry for our...
And then they have what's called the future radar. So they're going to start looking at what's going on in the future, what they're predicting. So we've got temperatures for 7 a.m. in the morning, moving into tomorrow afternoon, midday.
Most of us will stay dry tomorrow. In fact, I think a lot more of you will stay dry than today. However, we can't rule out just these...
And then we're moving even further in the future. Now, if you look across like the top and along the side, you'll see that they've got graphics for first alert, but also in the corner there's a guy's picture. And so this is a part of the non-traditional marketing that they have, is that this company, this particular law firm, is paying money for their logo and their face to be shown in the upper corner. Since most people are watching weather, because this is one of the things they definitely want information on, he's getting advertisement placed into this segment.
A few showers and thunderstorms, 30% at best. Most of you, once again, do stay dry. So don't cancel outdoor plans. Just have an indoor backup option, because as always, when thunder roars, go indoors, but a lot of you will not have to deal with that. A lot of you will stay on the drier side for the weekend. 30% chance for rain.
So now we're going to do a next segment. We're going to be talking about different percentages of rain now that we've kind of worked on prediction. And so just at a glance, you can kind of see, okay, it's going to rain a little bit Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Come next Wednesday is when it's going to get really big.
You feel hot. Highs are going to
And then now we get into the 7-day forecast. And if you notice, she's now moved off the screen.
But with the humidity, of course, we know it feels...
So she may be standing next to the news desk, or she may be back at her weather station.
Won't arrive until the middle of next work week.
All right, thank you so much.
So there she is, standing next to them. And now we've got a tease. So again, we're giving you a little bit more information of what's coming up, and they want you to keep watching after the break.
Of bipartisan senators, the question is, will it move forward with the Biden administration's blessing? Right now, though, we want to pass along the highest and lowest restaurant inspection scores from the 12.
And then as a kind of community service, they're also providing a page graphic of which restaurants have scored high in cleanliness, which restaurants have scored at the bottom for health concerns. So this is also another reason for people to watch, so they can see if there's a problem with a local restaurant. So I can kind of see in this place, a place called Crispy Country has a 79, which is a low rating. A 77, also a low rating. They have mold in their ice machine. There's food listing on the counter. So this is a service to kind of help people out, and it also draws in their viewership. And then also at the end of the weather segment, you saw after the 7-day, the weather anchor was standing next to the anchors. And this was called a toss. So she basically finished her weather and said, now back to news. And then they took us into the break. And for the break, let's see if we can get a little jump ahead. Let's try, oh, a little too far. Let's try 26.
Start, Texas.
So now our news anchors are going to be covering sports. At the moment, the station does not have a sports anchor, so the two news anchors are taking over the types of stories. We're now showing a type of story that's a page graphic. We're giving you information about scores that are happening with the current game.
You can see Texas is up 1-0.
And these are like these are live scores, so they're able to instantly update this and provide you with information. So we're going to transition to a local team. The Montgomery Biscuits are playing, and the game got rained out. So you can see in the upper left corner, source MLB TV. So they're using someone else's footage and giving them credit for it. And this is a VO, so you can hear the anchor still talking while the video is playing.
With a 7-inning game, 3 to follow.
Alabama State University.
So now we're switching to another sports team. Alabama State University is a college in Montgomery near the station, and it looks like that they have an athletic director that's leaving, and so they had an opportunity to talk to them and get some information from her about how she felt about her program and her legacy.
With the outgoing Hornet about the state of ASU athletics and looks ahead to what she sees, where she sees the program heading.
And the celebration begins for Alabama State.
Alabama State athletics had.
So in this case, you heard a SOT and a VO began this story, and this is going to be a package that one of their sports reporters put together.
Wonderful. It's allowed for us to win 40.
And so again, they were able to go and get an interview with the athletics director, and they were able to do it via video conferencing like Teams or Zoom or Skype or something like that.
Cups consecutive, and 3 under my time. We won the academic award 2 years in a row.
And Williams had to lead ASU athletics through a difficult time frame, the COVID-19 pandemic.
It was challenging. I don't think you can find an administrator, an athletic administrator, or a higher ed professional that would tell you that it was not challenging. But, I had a great team. They really supported and believed in my, my vision for how we would move forward during a pandemic. And we were able to be successful this season. We won the most SWAC championships out of the conference. While we came up short in the Commissioner's Cup this year, we lost by 4 points. We had one less team compete versus the team who won it. That shows you, the kind of commitment.
And so for this story, they were able to use footage from previous games in different sports, football, basketball, and they're able to combine all those elements together.
Turkey Day Classic, we know that's going to be back Tuskegee and Alabama State. That's exciting.
Getting that game back on the schedule was something that I definitely wanted to do during my time here, and it was a lot. So thank you, to Coach Slater and the Tuskegee administration. We worked it out, and so it's going to be back happening. And I know our fans, that's something, they may not think we're listening, but we hear.
What is your message to the Alabama State fan base and the direction that what do you tell them that this Alabama State program?
So you just heard the reporter asking the question to the interview subject.
Yeah, the program's in a great position, and we've been able to do some amazing things, again with limited resources, but we're in a great position, not just from a competitive stance, but from an academic stance as well. And what I would challenge Hornet Nation is to continue to support. Give people grace and give this new leader grace and continue to support that person, that individual, and, support the student athletes.
Alabama State is still conducting a search for Williams' replacement as athletic director. And stay with us. Lee has a.
And so they finished the tag by providing a little bit of information, and we're going to go into what looks to be our last break. And if you notice, we're kind of hanging out on the weather camera just a little bit longer before going to the break. So chances are the producer was looking at their schedule and they noticed they were running a little bit behind time, or they're running a little bit ahead of schedule. So they ran that weather camera for a little bit longer just to kind of take up some time. And let's go to about 32 minutes. So in this case, this show's actually running 35 minutes. And so like in the case of the 10 o'clock, after the 10 o'clock news, there's the evening entertainment that happens, usually starts about 10:35. So a lot of times 10:30 shows will actually have a 35-minute break. And so
plan for this Saturday in Union Springs. And
right now we're starting this off with a page graphic talking about an event coming up. Something about a COVID block party. And again, with the page graphic, they're able to quickly give you bulleted points to kind of help you see everything. So it's a block party. It's going to happen Saturday. There's going to be free vaccines and food. It's for this ages. There's a chance to win money.
plus a chance to win $1,000.
And now the anchors have a moment to talk about it and kind of take up some time.
Jernigan, a great idea, great way to get people out, and a great way to get people.
And now they can see that weather's on the shot, so they're probably going to talk to weather briefly.
On the water slide. Yeah, that too. That sounds fun. And I think it even said it's for the kids, and I was thinking to myself.
And as you can see, they're just kind of talking about it a little bit to take up some time.
There as well, and it will be perfect outside for that. I think we'll see a lot of sunshine. There will be just a little bit of rain, 20% chance for rain on Friday.
So again, a recap, they can use a brief look at, she can talk about, hey, here's the weekend, or she can stretch it out to talk about more days.
Again, if you do see rain, you can see more than your fair share, some heavy rain, downpours, some frequent lightning, but a lot of you will be dealing with nothing but sunshine and heat, highs near 90.
All right. Thanks a lot, Lee. And that's going to do it for WSFA 12 News at 10 o'clock.
More news.
And they're going to close with the graphic, talks their station. They're now promoting their the app for the channel. And then they wrapped it out pretty quickly. So they were able to time their show pretty well. They may have stretched it a little bit or sped up a little bit here and there to kind of make sure they stayed on track. But for the most part, they ended the show perfect on time. And I wanted to give you guys an opportunity to kind of look at a newscast and see how it kind of unfolds from beginning to end, which is something I'm sure many of you probably don't get a chance to do nowadays. Just sit and watch the news, especially since we get so much information to us from our cell phone and multimedia. So I'll talk to you